Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up. The line's wrapped around the stadium. Different strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
But a lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back in. I love.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Shout out to our friends over at Go, G-E-A-U-X, Chevrolet.com. You can always find them online and shop all the inventory down there. If you're looking for new cars, stop in and see them in Laplace. Always online at GoChevrolet.com. The Carpool Queen is here. Lloyd is here on this Wednesday, as we will talk to Brody Miller from The Athletic at 8 a.m. Jacques Doucet from WAFB will be here at 8:30 this morning, and at some point here in the first hour, we'll take your mailbag questions, comments, voicemails, text messages. Therapy.
You're still down.
Yeah. Billy Lucci, our therapeutic ways work. We had Lucci back on his feet just 1 week after his first visit.
Yes.
That's all it took.
Maybe I don't know if we're good or bad luck.
No, I'm not taking credit for it. But our show.
Or blame.
Yesterday, LSU players were speaking to the media, and you kind of got a little bit of the mindset and the sense of their mindset heading over to Atlanta this weekend. I thought Mekhi Gardner's comments yesterday really stood out, to him talking about this being LSU's national championship. So to give you an idea where their headspace is taking off to Atlanta. And then, of course, last night's college football playoff rankings that had some drama to it, wondering who 5, 6, and 7 were going to be, and it kind of shook out a lot like people thought. Ohio State was there at 5, Alabama was at 6, and Tennessee was at 7. I was surprised that Alabama didn't make the leap to number 5 so they could set up the Tide to make a run to the Final Four on Sunday, barring no upsets with TCU and USC coming up this weekend. But some more of what we talked about yesterday. Georgia held down that top spot as Boo Corrigan, the president and commissioner of the College Football Playoff Committee, said that Georgia did not do anything last week to bump them out of the top spot, and that Georgia's 4-0 against top 25 teams within their own ranking system. So the Dogs are number 1, which I thought for LSU's sake was good. Best case scenario. Just kind of don't kick the dog. Don't shake him. Let him sleep. Don't just let him lie.
Shake that bear.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Why I read this Athletic article, and Boo Corrigan?
Boo Corrigan.
Boo Corrigan. He said it's not necessarily the case that the order will hold, even though neither team plays this weekend, between Ohio State and Alabama.
Yeah, he's like,
what could happen?
They could go playoff committee and say we need some ratings here. We need some ratings here. Like I see some people speculating like TCU should be in even if they lose this weekend to Kansas State. I got news for you. They are looking for a excuse to get TCU out of the Final Four.
Seems like it.
Because they
need a brand. They want the brands,
They need
baby.
the name brands.
Yeah.
They would
Clearly.
love for USC to be there.
Yeah.
To get a West Coast team that you could pick up some viewers there. Obviously, you will need the SEC, and you've got Georgia there. a combination of Michigan, Ohio State, possibly Georgia, Alabama. I mean, those are the names, those are the teams that they want to put up on the board on Sunday, and all Boo is doing is just kind of leaving himself a little leeway.
I
Prep-
guess
you know
so.
what I mean?
Wild.
Right? Just kind of letting you know, like, hey, look, I told you.
I know.
I told you Tuesday night.
We were breaking up.
Yeah, it didn't matter what went on this weekend. There was going to be some shakeup. So, LSU falls to 14, and when you see that number, that's a pretty steep drop from where they were last week going into the Texas A&M game. But I think it's also a clear indicator of what the committee does early in the season. I think LSU is one of those teams that found themselves in the first playoff ranking a little higher than they probably should have been, right? Remember the backlash to LSU being ranked number 10 in the opening college football playoff? And the only reason why that happened was because that Saturday night, Alabama was in town, and they wanted to promote a top 10 game. They just wanted to tell people on TV that it's going to be a top 10 game at nighttime in Tiger Stadium. And they got what they wanted out of it. They got an overtime game. They got high viewership. They got great ratings. And what they also had happen was LSU got hot, and they had them ranked a little higher than they should have been in the opening playoff ranking, and from there they kind of slid themselves up to a spot where they controlled their own destiny a week ago today, right? I mean, like, they had their destiny in their own hands. LSU was sitting in a spot where if they go to Texas A&M, a down team in the SEC, a team that they're a couple of score favorites over, they don't show up. They get beat. They lose to a very underwhelming opponent, one that the committee, I'm sure, has no respect for, and they tumble. And from LSU's sake, what could you really argue? You know, I mean, they didn't look like a top 10 team. They weren't prepared like a top 10 team. They didn't play like a top 10 team. So to find them outside of the top 10 a week after being in the top 5 is not that surprising, because they had a great opportunity and they just didn't take advantage of
Shit
it.
the bed.
You know, and that's the penalty you get for losing like that.
And it goes to show what the nation thinks of, or not, I shouldn't say the nation, what
The nation.
what the playoff committee thinks of Texas A&M. Like, if you're an SEC fan or if you're an LSU fan, you knew that Texas A&M had the talent, but they haven't talked or watched them all year if you're the playoff committee. So you see an LSU team that's ranked 5th in the country lose to a team that's not even going to be bowl eligible. What the hell do you think they're going to do to them? No. Get out. We don't have to talk about you ever again. You blew it. Mm-hmm. And instead, whenever you're in the SEC or around college football like we are, you're like, damn, we're good. Like, you know, you knew that A&M was capable of a, I guess, quote-unquote upset like this, but Boo didn't know that.
Yeah.
The committee didn't know that. They're like,
Boo didn't know.
They got stopped by A&M. Get them out of here. Yeah. And that's what it looks like nationally.
Well, there's probably two, and I'm speaking, just speculating. I've got no idea. But I would imagine that there's probably a portion of that room that was, kind of, I told you so on LSU. We ranked them too high in the opening. Like, now we've got to keep bumping them up, And that portion of the room probably last week or last night was probably like, all right, get them out of here. You know what I mean? Like, they never deserved to be there anyway. We ranked them too high early on. Like, get them outside of the top 10.
Eliminates the SEC talk of a 3-team in the playoffs.
Absolutely. You do a couple of favors for some other people in there that are ACC and Big 12 guys that, that are obviously, pissed at the SEC popularity of the sport. But I get it. I was not surprised to see LSU out of the top 10. I was not surprised to see them even at 14. I knew that they were going to be penalized for losing like they did. I mean, with so much on the line, too. I mean, they're probably thinking that, you had this opportunity in front of you and that's how you played. So they're going to penalize you for it. They got a great opportunity on Saturday night, though.
They do.
And they got a real chance to close out this first year for Brian Kelly on a real positive note. And not necessarily having to win the game. Look, by no means am I saying that there's going to be a moral, that you can take away a moral win from a loss here. But I think when you look at Georgia and you look at LSU side by side, there is an obvious discrepancy in the roster in certain spots. LSU's got some advantages in a couple of positions, but for the most part, Georgia's probably got the most talented roster in college football.
What if they upset Georgia?
But they could.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
They could. It would not be. It wouldn't be one of the biggest surprises, shocks, upsets in college football. I think that this LSU team can definitely go toe to toe with Georgia. But as Mekhi Wingo said yesterday, this is their national championship. LSU's looking at Saturday night like their national championship. And we talked yesterday a little bit about the similarities of 2001 to this season. I'm really looking forward to where my dog's at, Rohan's show on Thursday night, where they're going to, bring back up and talk about that 2001 game and that 2001 week, and, hearing those guys talk about it and knowing that group a little bit. Like I said, I was in college that time. I had played against Michael Clayton and Marcus Spears growing up. I knew those guys. Donnie Jones went to high school with him. So, we kind of had relationships with those guys and were closer to that team being just kind of, we were peers. We were all like kind of the same age. And I kind of remember during that week, LSU, really talking about that game a lot like Mekhi Gardner was referencing yesterday. Tennessee at that time in 2001, if they win that game, they're going to the national championship. Georgia's in the national championship Final Four, win or lose, come Saturday. But a very similar situation as far as the other teams got a ton to play for, got a ton on the line, right? And LSU at the time, now LSU was hot in 2001 going into that game. They were riding some real momentum heading into that one. That was coming off of the Auburn night game where they just won the West in the final week. They moved the SEC championship game back a week because of September 11th, so they moved the Auburn game to the first weekend of December, and it was one of the finest nights in Tiger Stadium I can ever. It was pitch black.
8 p.m.?
It was an 8 p.m. kickoff in December, and they kicked the onside kick at the opening kick of the game because Auburn was penalized in a pregame. In pregame they were either stomping on the Tiger, they were doing something.
They stomped on the Tiger eye.
They stomped on the Tiger eye. I was there too, and they.
That's so disrespectful.
And they called an unsportsmanlike conduct. So LSU got moved up 15 on the opening kickoff, and that's where Michael Clayton decapitated somebody on the front line of Auburn.
That clip.
And Tommy Tuberville has a
aneurysm.
Like he has a 13, 12-year-old just temper tantrum on the field. Like he's like jumping up and down. He's like throwing his headset. He's like looking. He's like he cannot get over.
It's like he doesn't know the rules for onside kicks. He was like, you can't. You shouldn't come out and do that.
He was so flustered.
Yes.
He was so flustered. I remember they went for a fourth down. Like after Clayton, LSU get the opening kickoff, they go down and score. Auburn gets the ball and they go for it like on a fourth down in their own territory. And I want to say it was Cadillac.
Really?
That they handed it to.
Oh, weird.
And they give it to Cadillac, and Chad Lavallee comes through and just obliterates him on this fourth down in Tiger Stadium. It was over. People were like, the game didn't end till like midnight. People were falling down walking out of that place.
I can imagine.
But, then that week you're going to the SEC title game. You win that game, you're going to Georgia. And just the high and the buzz around Baton Rouge that week was just, 2 years ago, DiNardo was being fired. They were, they were winless in the conference. They beat Arkansas like the last game of the year when they put Rohan in. But it was just, is that the Auburn game?
I think so.
No, I think that's the Tennessee game.
The Tennessee game.
Yeah, that's the Tennessee game.
I just typed in Tommy Tuberville and this popped up.
Look at the cop.
I know.
Look at Roe.
Oh my gosh, his face.
Roe ain't even mad. This is in his element.
How could you be?
That's awesome. I just have a sneaking feeling, one of my gut feelings that Alabama's going to get in.
Yeah,
I
hey,
think
look,
Kansas State can beat TCU.
I think they
pretty
can,
easily,
too.
right? I don't know about Utah beating USC, but it could happen.
It's already
And
happened.
then Alabama's in.
No, I think that TCU is – look, I'm not here to bet against TCU, and I'm not here to tell you that TCU is going to lose because they've passed every test and they've made a lot of people look like fools this
They have.
season. But Kansas State is – they are riding high right now.
Yeah, they are.
They're playing with a lot of confidence. They're feeling themselves. They got a really high-flying offense that
They're 10.
is putting up points. And, yeah, I mean, you see them right there. They're number 10 in the country.
Yeah, they can do this.
So, yeah, I mean, by no means would it be a massive upset. But TCU has answered, I mean, they've done everything that they were supposed to do up to this point. And you just kind of, I mean, the oven's hot. Don't touch it. I mean, people have been burned by TCU for sure.
I feel it, though.
It'll be a good
feel Bama.
championship weekend, man. I think it's
Look
going to be
at-
a solid championship
Look
weekend.
where they put your boy Ohio State for that Michigan game.
Yeah, Ryan Day's probably like crouching down in his chair right now, trying to hide under his desk. Please, God, don't let us get back into this thing.
Herb, you want to come through the office? Help me out a little bit?
Herb, how do you do the fake heart attack thing? And if I do that, could you fill in for me? That way I could get credit for the natty that you win.
I'll go back to offensive coordinator.
Yeah, right. All right, hit that like button, share button, comment button. Remember, our SEC championship coverage is brought to you by our friend Lance Beal over in Acadiana, over in Lafayette. If you're looking for any type of law, Beal and Hebert can help you out. BealAndHebert.com is where you can find them online. BealAndHebert.com is where you find them online. Proud sponsor of our SEC championship coverage. We're sending a content guy over there. We'll have some stuff coming back from the field, from the build-up, and some social media stuff that we'll be sending back over from Atlanta. It'll be a 3 o'clock kickoff here Central Time come Saturday. It will be a sea of red and black inside of the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz
can you
Dome.
imagine?
Look, man, I was there in 2019, and LSU was showing up, which, with what you felt like was the New England Patriots. I mean, you felt like nobody – didn't matter if Georgia rolled out a greatest of all time team. Nobody was going to beat them that day. And Georgia was really good. I mean, like looking back on that team, they were just really young.
1 year away.
That day. Yeah, I mean, that's Jordan Davis, who Joe Burrow is wheeling out of to make that, that kind of Heisman stamped play that he does that day to hit Jefferson, where Jefferson's streaking away from the Georgia defenders. But I mean, that Georgia squad was loaded that day in 2019, and even the Georgia fans, Jordan, my dad, and I made that trip, and there were Georgia fans that were sitting around us that knew, like, we ain't got a prayer
Just wait
today.
until
I mean, we ain't
Burrow
got a
goes
shot.
to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, well, the opening drive of the game, that was the one where Burrow like had the 9 seconds in the pocket, and he's like telling Jamar Chase like, over here, and like puts it to him into triple coverage, and Jam catches it. I mean, yeah, like the guy was like, look, I mean, I don't know what we can do today, but even on a day when they knew that they weren't going to win the game, it was 80-20. You know what I mean? Like it was all orange and black and just a small section of purple and gold that day in Atlanta. This Saturday, they're the big bad wolf. You know what I mean? Like they know how bad they are. They know that they're the baddest dude on the block. It's going to be a sea of red and black inside that dome, much like it has been for LSU in these trips a lot of the time. I mean, I keep going back to that 2001 game, and I've been to the title game. I went in 01, 03, 07, went in 19. So, I mean, I've been to the game multiple times, and the first one I went to when LSU was there was back in 01, the first time they went. And it was that night, it was nothing but orange. It was a checkerboard of orange and white inside the Georgia Dome with a small corner in LSU's sideline that was purple and gold. I mean, routinely LSU shows up to this game. Even in 2007, the one where Zenon picks off the pick six at the end of the game where Paralou's the player of the game that day. I mean, it was nothing but Tennessee orange and white. LSU had lost the weekend before to Arkansas and kind of had popped the balloon on the season. Nobody felt that like there was anything to play for. So nobody was really excited about that trip. This weekend I expect the same.
We still haven't booked our flight.
I think you said you're not going.
We got tickets. Like, we got
Oh, y'all
allotted
did?
tickets.
Oh,
They're not
wow.
like great, but finally TAF showed up, but we still haven't pulled the trigger.
I was thinking watch party here.
Yeah.
LSU, SC. I mean, SEC championship. People are gonna tune in for sure.
Totally.
But I don't know if if you go, that's up to you. Because I
Rose
feel
said
like
he might do a watch party unless he goes to the actual game.
he's more than welcome.
No, it'd be a great day for a watch party.
It
for
would
sure.
be. But don't you think that Kirby has some sort of a little bit of extra pep in his step because it's LSU and how lose to him in 2018,
Sure.
lose
He's
to him in
0-2.
0-2,
Yeah.
goes into, and he knows that LSU can play spoiler. I guess they would still be in the playoff, but just for a personal factor, I'd imagine Kirby's looking at LSU and be like, finally, I'm going to have the better squad.
Georgia has hit that point in the program existence where they're chasing legacy now. They're chasing numbers. They're chasing streaks. It's been 2 years since they've lost a regular season game. Last year, that team losing one game, I'd imagine, is stuff that motivates the program now, right? Kirby's probably telling his guys, hey, you got an opportunity to go undefeated this year. A team last year that was wire-to-wire #1 couldn't even accomplish that. You guys can do this Saturday. You got to keep the focus this week. So, I mean, look, Kirby Smart, I respect Kirby Smart from an opponent's standpoint as much as anybody in the league. I think that he is always going to have his team ready to play. He's recruiting at the highest level. And behind closed doors, he's got a lot of that FU in him, right? Which, I mean, I love. I love that style of just, I don't know if we've talked about it, but one of my favorite clips of all time ever is Kirby Smart's first year at Georgia when they go to the Rose Bowl and beat Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma. And Kirby Smart's initial reaction when the gun goes 0-0, he runs to the middle of the field, grabs his nuts, and says, how the fuck do you like that?
He does not.
Yes, he does.
Oh, my God.
Yes, he does. And even Georgia has taken that clip and it's still out there, but they have tried to scrub it everywhere.
I've never seen it.
Because it is, for the brand, I get why you try to cover it up, but for the brand, I don't know why you wouldn't play it everywhere
gosh,
because people,
I need
it
to
has
see
it'll give you chills.
That's wild. I can't believe he did that.
It's unreal.
He feels like we arrived.
It's unreal.
I'm here.
It's to Saban. It's to everybody out there saying he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He can't do this.
Right.
He can't survive outside of us.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? That's what that was too. And you could see it. You could feel it.
I bet.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was.
The energy.
And the camera
BDE.
caught it huge. BDE. The biggest in the room.
Right.
BDE. It was.
Wow.
It was fine, bro. It was fine. It was. And at that moment, I was like, oh, shit, Georgia's going to be great.
Yeah.
Georgia is about to hit a decade run where they're going to be great because it's tough to lose that.
Uh-huh.
Even I think as Georgia is as dominant as they are becoming, I still think that's who he is. Behind closed.
For sure.
We're still disrespected.
Right.
They still don't think we can do it. And when you've got that with those type of players, with that type of talent, that's what LSU was. You know what I mean? That's what Bama is.
Yeah.
That's what Georgia is. That's who LSU could become again.
Right.
But at one time, LSU had that air to them where they beat a lot of teams when they got off the bus.
I know.
You know what I mean? There was a lot of teams that, Les Miles tried to screw up. And even he couldn't get in the way of. They were just too talented.
Right.
They were too good to screw it up. And Georgia has gotten to that spot.
Right.
And they've got they've got the Brian Kelly.
They do.
Now LSU's got
Now
the
we have the
talent
Brian
and
Kelly.
and the coach.
Did I
It's
just
tough
say
to
we?
put it all together in college football. Whoa. You can't help yourself.
Did you find it, Lloyd? You still
No,
looking
it's
for it? Is it
scrubbed
nowhere to
over.
be
No, it is.
found?
I'm telling you.
That's
We found it
wild.
once. We found it before.
It is out there. It is bootlegged out there somewhere.
Has to be.
But I'm telling you, Georgia went into PR, presidential PR
They would
stuff,
need to. Yeah, I get that.
and had that thing scrubbed.
I get it.
It's unreal.
Get on the dark web, Lloyd.
I can find it. That's where I live. This is my part of the internet.
Remember Daily, we're brought to you by Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, our friends over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Get in touch with Jude and his crew today. They can help you out with any of your plumbing needs. They're number one and a number two business. You can give them a call at 225-776-2431. 225-776-2431 is the number to get involved with Jude Barker and Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Remember, no social media, no website. And if you mention the show, you save yourself 15%. 225-776-2431. As you mentioned the show, save yourself 15% over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. All right, so LSU, Georgia, this Saturday, SEC title game coming up at 3 o'clock. We're going to talk to Brody Miller coming up here in a couple of minutes. He'll be here at 8 o'clock. Jacques will be through at 8:30. It'll be cool to reminisce about that 2001 season team SEC title game with Jacques, because that was 21 years ago. It's crazy, man. It's nuts. 21 years ago. Wow.
That is wild.
That is crazy.
That hit you.
It hits.
It is.
a little
It is
different.
hitting you.
Dude, it hits.
You're like, we need to go to break.
I mean, that
We'll be
is
right back.
21 years. Good Lord,
At
man.
least you remember it.
There are some parts of it that I remember as if it was like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet.
Shit, I was 9.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Yeah, I know. Shut up, Lloyd.
Thank you.
No, that's what I'm saying. That hits me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was.
I'm old.
I really do believe that it was LSU's official arrival to what I would call the golden age of LSU football.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's like you got glimpses of it when Kevin Falk committed. You got glimpses of it when they beat Florida in '97. I think it was a big jump when they hired Saban in 2000. The win versus Tennessee in the regular season in 2000 was kind of like, we're on the doorstep. LSU is like right here. And then in 2001, you go to the title game and win it. I remember leaving Atlanta that next day with just a certain feeling that I had never felt as an LSU fan. Like, I think the last time they had won the league before 2001 might have been 88.
Jeez.
Like, I think they won it in 86 and 88 was the last times they had won the league before 2001. So, I mean, you know, I was 7, 8 years old. I mean, I didn't know the struggles of DiNardo, Curly Hallman, the dark days of LSU football, you know, where basketball was king in this town in the 90s. That's what my age generation, that's what we grew up with. You know, knowing like the stars of this town were Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Jackson, Dale Brown. You know, I mean, everybody was lining up to go to the PMAC. Everybody was making fun of the football team. I mean, they were the butt of jokes. I remember the bumper sticker when Curly Hallman was hired in his first year. He announced that he was not going to have 2-a-days. He was going to have 3-a-days.
Oh, good.
He's going to have 3-a-days in the Louisiana heat. And when they hired him, they had a bumper sticker around town that said, "Crazy about Curly."
No way.
And then he announced that he was having 3-a-days, and they had a bumper sticker out there that said, "Curly about crazy." We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Good.
That's hilarious. I didn't.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, Decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss, loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest, then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online, and stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com. We love the crew over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew dropping off the meals every Monday here to FM Digital Media, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Me or the crew's going through our meals over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Their weekly pre-order, freshly made meals, or you can walk into the cooler over there on Airline Highway. They have that fresh, same service over there at Fresh Chef Eats. FreshChefEats.com is where you can find them online. Fresh Chef Kitchen. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. Back here to a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Are we good? Okay.
I was like, why are you breaking up?
Tried to beat you to the punch, you know.
Walking a tightrope here.
I caught you really quickly. I was like, all right, making sure this is about the Culotta Show.
Welcome back here. Yeah, you better be checking whether or not it is. I bet you are nervous over there.
That's true.
What?
Got
Trying
your
to
nuts
find
in a
Kirby.
grinder over here.
I'm Kirby over here.
Yeah. And some gear.
Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah, right. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by City Cafe. Our friends over at City Cafe, stop in and see Cody and Squeaky Miranda today. They got daily lunch specials. Great place to watch a game. Great place to get lunch, dinner, where good friends meet, where good friends eat. Check them out on the corner of George O'Neill and O'Neill, where they've been for over 100 years in business. That's tough to do, people. That is consistency.
That is.
And that is no accident. Did you find it?
No, I was going to say, and they feed us for the watch parties, which
Yes,
we'll
they
be
do.
doing.
That's right.
I think we can go ahead and say that, especially where we're no row, but with row would be absolutely
It would.
electric.
It would.
But that City
And
Cafe's providing the
Kasky,
food.
what? Kasky's
He's
out.
got family in town.
Good family.
sure.
We got him once, you know.
Yeah. Did he say he had a window until 4 o'clock?
No,
I mean,
you
they-
said that.
I thought you said he had.
No, I told you he had like a brother-in-law in town, and you were like, didn't he say he was open till 4? And I was like, no, you didn't even talk to him. I did.
I'm
You
ignoring
said
that.
something about a window until 4,
know.
Kasky.
You're
Game
trying
kicks
to
at 3.
speak
We'll
that
expect
into
you by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Kasky will be there. We'll start promoting.
I think when the wife says no, that means no. No means no.
That's right. CityCafeBR.net. CityCafeBR.net.
That's right.
Where they're always saying yes over at City Cafe.
Yes.
All right. So have you found this clip on Kirby Smart?
No, they got
Golly,
my ass.
man.
I pulled up even the full. What game was it?
It's Oklahoma.
That's the one I'm looking
It's
at. I
I'm
don't
telling
think
you,
so.
man.
It's gone.
It is exactly when the game goes final.
I've seen it.
He tricks the television camera. You know what I mean? Like the TV camera goes straight to Kirby because they want to see first-year head coach just won the national semifinal. He's going to the national championship in Atlanta
After 2 overtimes.
after 2. Yeah, like they were down huge at halftime to him. I want to say they were down like 3 or 4 scores in the second half. Came back, win the game, and they're like going to Kirby, expect him to be like, like shaking and hugging an assistant's hand.
And then he's grabbing his balls.
Curves just straight to the fucking crotch
Fuck you and fuck
with
you.
a how the F you like that? Into the camera, like even ABC's like, whoa, get out of there.
I mean,
Lloyd's on a mission.
I know.
Like, this is going to drive you crazy.
that's fine. I'll find it. I know I will. But it probably had a little something to do with it being Baker also, because they do have.
Yeah.
I have seen Baker on the sidelines, hands.
Well, I mean, Baker's
on knees.
putting the flag into the
Right, he
into
couldn't
the
wait to
middle
do
of
it
the
again.
horseshoe.
Yeah, and into the turf.
Yeah, right. Like Baker, that's cement under there, buddy.
I don't care.
I know that they're not sending you to class at Oklahoma, but that's not going to penetrate. That's not going to happen.
Let's do voicemails while you look. We
Um,
have some,
Look, it
right?
cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, it cuts him.
Oh,
it cuts him completely
I'll
out.
show this just so they know
The
that
power,
I am
the
This is
power.
the game?
Somebody out there has the power over the internet to take stuff away.
off.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Is it George's AD?
no.
Is it Kirby?
It's Epstein.
I mean, Kirby probably wants that out there. He wants it living.
You
Look
think
how
so?
look how quickly
Hell
it
yeah.
goes from look. It's so obvious.
Kirby, put your visor back on.
Was this before or after?
After
Okay.
Kelly, I mean, Katie, I'm telling you, as soon as the game goes final, like I mean, it's like 0 on the gun. He
He runs
runs
out
to midfield, sprints to midfield,
It's actually bad editing.
kind of like catches himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I'm the head
Look
coach.
at the hair
Yeah.
back to get visors back on. Everything. I'm put together. I'm dressed. I'm here.
That's good.
It's good stuff. man.
Somebody will send it to us, I feel like.
Hunter Fournette
Right.
said, send it to you in your Twitter DMs.
Oh,
Lloyd.
wow.
My guy.
Get us slide on in those DMs, Hunter.
Appreciate that, Hunter.
Hunter may be on to our podcast game about our announcement. I told him not to spoil it.
Hunter Fournette.
He had a guess.
He
in
said
my
it yesterday
DMs.
in the chat.
Well, that's not what I was gonna say.
Oh, but he did.
I know, and I was like, "Hush," and he was like, "Oh, hell yeah!" He's like, "I'm pumped."
Hush, Hunter.
We do have a couple of announcements coming to you tomorrow from FM Digital Media that will be made tomorrow. We're excited about it. A couple of new podcasts that we're going to launch next week. Both of them start on Monday, and we are really fired up about both of them. So we'll be letting you know about what's coming your way here. More programming, more content from FM Digital Media for you to choose from. So we just ask that you give us a follow. We'll be handing out be giving new social media, new YouTube stations. So we just ask what you've always been doing for us, and we're always so grateful for and supporting. To give us a follow, a subscription, like, share, get the word moving, let people know where we are, so we can get as many people checking out the content as possible to keep us moving within the algorithms out there in the digital world. All right, we've talked a lot about LSU, talked a lot about Georgia. We'll get back to it coming up here with Brody Miller and Jacques coming up at 8 a.m. and 8:30 respectively. If you've got a question, if you've got a comment, you can jump inside of the chat and get your question there. Hashtag mailbag. You can send in a text message, 225-953-7741.
Rose
Not-
Chimera.
95. It's 953, right? Oh, here we go.
Oh, this is on someone's TV.
Yeah,
Here we go.
I don't have the audio up.
Here
'cause
we
I have
go.
no
That's
idea what
okay.
they're
That's
about
okay.
to
That's
say.
okay.
It's all right.
That's
I just
okay.
need to see
You
it.
don't need audio. I'm telling you, it's so clear.
I'm sure this breakdown of whatever this guy
What
is,
is
how
this?
he's setting the
It's-
scene.
Yeah, right.
It's
I
like
mean,
a kitchen counter TV.
it
It
is.
looks
I
like
mean-
a murder.
look.
Boom, motherfucker.
He's so happy.
This is what you had to do, though. You had to record the game to have it.
He says, boom, motherfucker.
Boom, motherfucker. What'd you think about that?
It's so good, man.
Oh, thank you to this guy. Shout out to him.
This is the guy that recorded it.
Look how funny this is. This is the oldest man with the phone ever. Oh, it's going to be a little too close to my face now.
That's great.
Hold on. Whoa.
That's great.
Reminds me of our Omegle days.
That's good stuff. All right, so questions, mailbags. Get them in soon, and we'll answer them here. 225-953-7741. 225-953.
Right?
No,
Yeah,
225-229.
229.
What did
953?
I don't know.
I mean, call them too, I guess.
I was like, this doesn't sound right.
I know it didn't, but then I just trusted you. I was like, man, you keep saying it.
225-229.
Rose
7741. 225.
Do we have
Told you.
voicemails though sitting in there?
We have one text so far that has come in.
One
Two texts
text.
now. Mailbag. Kirby Smart gets extra slaw on his Caniac combo. Hate week. Second mailbag. Are you ready for this, Jordy? You can plead the fifth if you like.
Whoa, dude. Whoa.
It's football related.
Okay. I got some shit on you right now, Lloyd. Don't test me, dude.
Ask Jordy how Denver and Tack Harris are doing. I'm just trying to help the show. Ask Jordy how Denver and Tack Harris are doing. As the transfer portal opens up on December 5th, I'd imagine is what he's talking about.
Yep. They're doing good. They're doing good. I think that I don't want to say too much, man. I think that I think Denver Harris is going to I think he's going to test. He's going to wait and test all his options. I think he's going to get some feedback and he's going to make a decision on what he wants to do for his future. And I think that that's going to happen pretty quick. I think that would happen in the next couple of days. We'll find out if he's staying or if he's going into the transfer portal.
People are guessing on what what the next podcast is going to be, and it's Cordell wants to do a podcast. He said, "Don't spoil my announcement." And then it's going to be a Katy Mississippi State podcast, even though she just said we about LSU football.
Ooh, wow.
So Jeff and Kenner said John Brady and Will Wade podcast. Interesting concept.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Cordell
Cordell said Jordy's phone about to ring.
That was so funny.
But I think that we'll find out fast on, the transfer portal, really, more than Denver Harris. I think we'll find out a couple of guys in the transfer portal. Remember, next week is an early signing day. Is it next week or is it 2 weeks? It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks will be an early signing day period for college football, so you'll start to see some of the recruiting classes start to shake up, and you'll start to see some of those start to fill up. And as Brian Kelly said earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, that they're still going to have to get into the transfer portal. Like they're still going to have to go into and try and get some positions that are lacking depth. That you can't refill, reload, recoup in recruiting. You got to continue to recruit and get those guys into the program and continue to develop them and make sure that they're on track to play. Like a DB, let's just take, the position that Denver Harris plays. I think LSU's sitting in a really good spot with a lot of, with cornerbacks. They got some committee, but like Desmond Ricks is the number one cornerback in the class by some services, and seems like LSU is the team to beat. Like it seems like he's going to, LSU is going to be one of his top finalists. And if you get a guy like that, maybe he comes in and his clock moves a little bit faster than other guys. But by experience and by knowing how this works, a lot like all of you do who watch this, it takes time for a lot of these young guys to get on the field. LSU's 2022 team is outlying to a lot of situations. I mean, who has had better seats than all of us who watch LSU football to high-end 4-5-star guys coming in here and having to wait to play and having to, pay their dues before they get on the field? This year is very much an outlier, where 2 of your offensive tackles are freshmen, your best defensive player is a true freshman, your tight end's a true freshman. You know, I mean, you've just got guys that are very, very young, making major contributions, and most amazing about that is that, like, they're doing it late into the season. A lot of rookies, a lot of freshmen by now would hit the wall. You know, we're like, this thing, it's very intense. It's longer than a high school season. The games are bigger each week. At some point, you're like, damn, I wasn't ready for this. You know, but all of these guys continue to get better as the season goes on. So, you know, I think that it's when you look at how this roster is being built, with how this program is being built, that they have to capitalize on recruiting, which it looks like they are going to right now with the committed number 1 class. You want that to be the signed number 1 class, which it feels like they'll be in the top 5. And then they're going to have to dive into the transfer portal and continue to build through that as well, right? I mean, like, you're still going to have to go get guys that are making impacts like Miles Frazier, Mekhi Gardner, Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché, guys that transferred in that have come in and have made immediate impacts. You're still looking for a couple of those guys, right? And I think that, you know, we'll hear some familiar names over the next couple of days that go into the portal. It looks like Jacoby Matthews is staying. I mean, if you're just going by a social media post, you know, I mean, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to post that.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of guys at A&M that are posting some cryptic messages or some stuff that looks like they're leaving. I mean, if I'm looking at Jacoby Matthews, can you pull his Twitter up? I mean, he has a profile pic that, you know, it looks like he's staying at A&M. And, you know, that's good for the kid. You know, good for Jacoby to find some sense of, you know, steadiness over there and want to play. I don't think we're. I mean, are we pulling for all of these kids to transfer every year?
No.
You know, I mean, I know that. Sure, I would love for Jacoby Matthews to play in purple and gold. He would look great in his hometown or his home state school. And I think at one point he really, really, really wanted to go to LSU. And probably at times during his freshman season, he looked over in Baton Rouge and said, "Man, it looks like a lot funner over there than it is here." Right? But for whatever is happening, whatever is going on, and I heard things within the season that he was, you know, talking to people at LSU. He wanted to come back to LSU. But when I saw the profile pic go up, and I saw it earlier this week, my first instinct was, good for him. You know, I mean, like, who wants a kid's college experience to be this, you know, dive in, dive out, stay somewhere for 8 months, 6, 7 months, and not really to get to know anybody, not to really take in a lot of the experiences, not to get to know the campus, not to get to have the college experience? Well, they're getting paid now. They don't do. All right. They're still 18 to 22, man. I mean, that time in your life is really cool when you're on a college campus and meeting new people and getting new experiences and going new places and seeing new things. I mean, that's all still happening for them, no matter if they're a 5-star, if they're a, you know, an engineer student. And you still want kids from our state, or at least I do, to have that positive experience. Now, don't get me wrong. If Jacoby Matthews said, "I want to come back to LSU," I'd be pulling for him too. Right? But the fact that he wants to stick it out, stick with his decision, stay at a place that he committed to, okay. When I watch Jacoby Matthews play on Saturdays, I'm pulling for him. You know, when they play LSU, I want LSU to win the game, but when Jacoby Matthews makes plays against LSU, I think it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see their running back just entered his name into the portal? He had an LSU offer.
It wasn't our guy from Estruma, was it?
No.
From Baton Rouge?
Stephen Miller said, "I want to know the numbers on how many players enter the portal and how many don't find a landing spot
LJ
when it
Johnson.
closes." I always wonder that too.
A lot.
Yeah. Like, what do they do?
We don't hear about them because it's not Denver Harris. It's
Right.
not Jacoby Matthews. It's not Caleb Williamson. It's not Miles Frazier. It's not Mekhi. I mean, all these guys that can play. It's these guys that are thinking, hey, I want a chance to play, and You know, I was recruited out of high school, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, like for instance, like Denver. Let's just keep using Denver Harris as the example. And again, I'm not saying anything about Denver Harris until Denver Harris and his family say anything officially. We don't know shit,
Right.
right? Like I don't know anything, but let's say Denver Harris goes into the transfer portal. Last year, Denver Harris's stock at this time was untouchable. He
Right.
was through the roof, right? Denver Harris was the #1 cornerback in the country. Everybody was in love with him. Everybody was trying to get him. Everybody was trying to get him on campus. Now Desmond Ricks is that guy. And LSU is, you know, slobbering over Desmond Ricks. Like we're doing everything they can show Desmond Ricks that we love you, we want you, you can play here. And Denver Harris is probably going to find when he goes into the portal, it's not last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's probably going to be some love there, but it's not going to be
Like it was.
what he experienced. And, you know, for some people that didn't even experience that in high school, right? Some guys that were like 2-3 stars that maybe go to someplace and start to make some plays and feel like, hey, I can go somewhere else and get another opportunity. Well, there's probably people out there that just don't even know who you are.
Right.
I mean, like really and truly. I mean, for as much as people obsess over players and obsess over numbers and trying to get new faces and trying to get playmakers, it's still a numbers game. And at the end of the day, you just don't have the manpower to get all these guys. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many recruits, there's so many underclassmen, there's so many transfer portal. There's going to be a guy that just slips through. And it's by the numbers. And for someone that doesn't have a clear plan, like it doesn't affect Denver Harris, it doesn't affect Caleb Williamson, it doesn't affect Miles Frazier, because
They're gonna
as
land
soon as their
somewhere.
name goes into the portal, everybody in the country is like, we want them,
Yeah.
you know? But there's names that go in there that people are like, who is that?
Well, what happens to them though if they don't find a landing spot?
They end up at a D3 school.
Yeah.
They ended up at a JUCO. They end up at a Division II school, or they really figure out maybe football's not for me.
Right.
You know, like maybe it's time to call this
Sad.
Or you beg for
you know,
forgiveness.
But what we sometimes, I think one of the things that gets lost in covering sports is that the end for a lot of athletes is very, very sad. It's not Kobe Bryant. It's not where you can walk away on your own terms, get like a victory parade where everywhere you go the last year you're playing, everybody's gifting you stuff and everybody on the
Yeah.
road's cheering for you and wearing your jersey. That's a very difficult way to leave sports. Usually sports tells you when to leave.
Right.
You can't say I'm leaving you.
Look at Tiger Woods
Right?
right now. He
Exactly.
was trying to play in some
Exactly.
golf tournament this weekend, and
Yeah.
he's like, he developed plantar fasciitis
mean,
trying to walk.
Even Drew Brees at the end, that was a little tough to watch. You know,
It
I mean,
was.
which is why like Tom Brady is such, like people are so just in awe of it because he's beating the game.
Beating
Like
Father
you,
Time.
you know, like usually
Yeah.
the game is like, man, it's like Mother Nature.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
you think you're prepared. You know what I mean? Like you hadn't seen this yet. You know, and usually sports can give that to you. And you know, for a lot of these college guys that are in the portal that don't get another opportunity, I'm sure there's a little bit of that, maybe a lot of that,
Yeah.
of maybe it's over. You know, like
What a bummer.
maybe it's
Yeah.
over. Maybe I've got to go, if I want to do this, I've got to chase like the XFL, USFL, minor league type dream, which, you know, that's a grind.
I know.
You know, that's
But is
a
there-
truly like for the love of the game.
Is there a path out of that?
Sure.
They do that?
Yeah, go shine in the NFL.
Have a
If you
kid.
can play, they will find you. If
Yeah,
there's somebody
true.
in the transfer portal that can play, that got overlooked, that ends up at name the Division II school in the country, if they can play, the NFL will find you. And ultimately, that's what 100% of football players that are in recruiting on college campuses believe they are. Every single one that puts on a cleat, a helmet, thinks, I can get paid to play. And that's why you love them, right? But there's also a large percentage of them that have to be told, no, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Sure.
it's over, man. You know, like, it's been a hell of a run. It's been fun. But from here on out, it's a big boy game.
Right.
And there's different levels to it, man. You
Yeah.
know, there's different levels to being able to do this at a high level. And, I mean, if you've never seen an NFL game up close, if you've never seen one, within the first 25 rows of the arena or have had the chance to see it from a field level view, it's just different. It's scary. It's a scary, scary game. It's a brutal, vicious, just unforgiving game. Right. And if you are, if you don't think you like it, it's not for you. Mm-hmm. You really got to love it to be, to last. Like Tom Brady. I mean, like how much do you think Brady loves? He sacrificed everything.
Everything.
He sacrificed everything.
Yeah.
She was cheating on him.
What do you mean?
True?
She was with her Krav Maga instructor.
I know, but that was after they split.
They've been together for
How do you know?
a year and a half because
No.
the story came out. He's been training her for a year and a half. You think it just all of a sudden was like, oh.
I don't know.
Let me show you this new move.
Right.
Since you're single.
Actually, take you should take some.
Put your hands down for this one.
It's going to be advanced now.
You're not a black belt. You're a no belt.
Oh, you're single now. This room.
Let's
I
get
didn't
a
know
Tom.
that about.
Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois, and the crew, rmb-builders.com.
We got a couple of questions coming in for the text.
Remember, Instagram for RMB Builders is blowing up. rmb-builders.com is where you can find them online. Custom design home. If you're looking to build the home of your dreams, let them help you out today over at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com.
All right, first one up coming from Stephen Miller, or Stephen from BEAL. No, Stephen Miller, yep. Why is it so difficult to have Besh more involved in the pass game? Dude catches the first pass of the game and sits to witness protection program. Time after time, he's been one of the most sure-handed wide receivers, yet we rarely see him targeted.
I don't get it either, man. And look, I'm not.
I thought he was hurt.
Well, he was hurt for a majority of the season, And then look, Jack Besh went through something that Jack Besh has never been through in his life. I mean, since Jack Besh has been on a football field, since he has been, I would venture to say, 5 years old, when they were playing flag football in Lafayette, all the way up until his freshman season at LSU, he was always either the best player on the field or top 3 player on the field. And for the first time in Jack Besh's life, he has been served up a little bit of professional adversity. You know what I mean? Probably up until last season, Besh probably thought, I'm a pro. I can play at the highest level, which he can. Which he can. He's just gone through some stuff this year. I'd love to know when the last time he dropped a kickoff or a punt was in his life. In his life. I mean, that's probably only happened to him twice. And to do it on national television against Tennessee,
First play of the game.
the first play of the game, and then 2 plays later, Tennessee's in the end zone, and the next thing you know, you get routed. That has a mental toll on a kid like Jack Besh. It has to. He's never gone through that in his entire life. For 21 years, he has been the best. Always. Hell, I watched him play basketball at St. Thomas More, and he was the best player on the floor.
Was he really? I didn't know he
The
was.
best. He was just a freak athlete.
Yeah.
He was jumping over everybody. He was catching everything. He was a little bit better than everybody out there, right? And you didn't have to know the game to see it. Like, damn, that's the kid, right? And when you went and watched him play football, it was always, that's the kid, right? And his confidence, you could see that, right? I mean, was anybody at St. Patrick's Day around here? I mean, did we see Besh? You know what I mean? Like, he was experiencing the highs of, performing at that level, right? And at some point, like we just talked about, sports is going to humble you. Mm-hmm. Sports humbles everybody. Michael Jordan broke his foot his second year in the NBA. After he was the rookie of the year. I mean, he was sky and high and never, boom, comes down to life. It just happens. And I think that's what's happening to Besh. Now, to answer Miller's question of getting him involved, and I can't speak to that. And I love the way that they spread the wealth on the offense. I think that they try and get everybody involved, but the one most left out, I would agree, is Besh. And one thing I feel about Besh is that I don't worry about him. He's going to be back. And I think for what he's going through right now is going to be best for him. That is going to bring the absolute elite out of him, because he's not a guy that's used to dropping passes. He's not a guy that's used to not playing. He's not a guy that's used to being out there and not being involved. And if you don't think that's keeping him up at night, then you don't know Jack Bech like I do. And I'm not his best friend. I'm not a good friend of his, but I've watched him play.
You don't know Jack.
That's what I was going to say.
You know what I mean? Like, and if you've watched him play for an amount of time, you get that his mentality is he's a killer. He's a dog. He's a playmaker. And the one way that you can irritate those types of personalities is not get them involved, or when they get opportunities, they don't make the most of them. That kickoff's got to keep Bech up at night. I believe that. I think that that thing haunts him to a point where when he can mentally get over it, it's going to be best for him. It's going to be good for him. Because ultimately, you got 16, 15 years of data that says the kid can play. You know what I mean? Like, he has always been one of the best on the field. Let's not take a 5-6 game sample of his second year in college, kind of illustrate who he is. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the player and say he's going to be back. And you also got to look around him. You know, I mean, it's not as if they're, throwing the ball to worse players. You know, I mean, they just got players everywhere. And specifically at his position, I think Bech is going to be fine. I think he's going to have a bounce back type season next year. I think, ultimately he's going to be a pro. Because that's what
who he is.
That's what the data says. That's when you look at his body of work. Overall, right, there's a little blip of a 5 and 6 game stretch here in his sophomore season that you're like, man, he's going through it. He's fighting it, man. He's going through some stuff that he never dealt with. And, for somebody that pulls for him, supports him, wants him to succeed internally, I got to be honest. I'm glad he's going through it now rather than when he gets to Sunday. Because this is something that he'll be able to think back on and say, hey, look, I've gone through this before in my life. Because it's going to happen again. You know what I mean? He's going to show up to an NFL roster where he's a great slot receiver. He's a great guy that can catch everything. Somebody's going to show up second or third year and is going to try and take his spot, and he's going to be able to resort back to this and say, hey, look, I made it through that. I can make it through this. Because ultimately, he can play, man.
And this doesn't have, I wouldn't say that these two things are related, but a lot of questions about who do you think will hit the portal from LSU as opposed to who they're bringing in, which is something I don't think we've really talked about.
It's a good question.
I agree.
It's a really good question. I
Shout
think
out Cordell.
I think you look at wide receiver, as one of those spots that you would think would you would see turnover. Do we have Brody? I know Brody was coming in at 8 o'clock. When you get him, let me know. I don't want.
He's here.
Is he? Okay.
I hope he didn't have
here.
this. He's in the mailbag.
No, my bad, Brody. I didn't mean to make you wait. We're coming right to you. We're going to take a quick break, come back with Brody Miller from The Athletic. We are driven and powered by Go Chevrolet over here in Daily, brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie, tell them about your place down in New Orleans.
I wish it was my place down there on Iberville Street, having everything you could desire for your picky eaters and your St. Louis pizza. The bird.
Bradbird.
Bradbird. I still
Bradbird.
can't remember what that means. I think
It's
Scott
named
got in the
after
chat.
two guys.
It was named after two guys. He did get in the chat and tell us about that.
Mash them together.
So Katie's in Mid-City and their sister restaurant, Francesca's. Go check them out in New Orleans.
Great sandwich deli over at Francesca's in New Orleans, and Katie's been around since 1984. If you want to peek at the menu, check them out online, katie'sinmidcity.com. Brody Miller coming up next here. We'll be right back with Miller from The Athletic jumping into LSU.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
We're sitting in the dugout.
So funny you say that.
And Pelfrey is not pitching today, but he's in full uni, he's turfs, and he's standing up on the fence, whatever, just like this, watching the game, and we start talking about, pissing your pants, something whatever. And he was like, "I'll piss my pants right now." We're wearing,
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, "I'll piss my pants right now." No, you won't. Yeah, how much money do you give me? So we gathered up however many people were in there. I think it ended up being $2,000 total.
I pissed my pants for $2,000.
And
100%.
So he goes in there, and he's watching the game, and he just starts pissing in his pants. Gray pants.
Yeah.
So you see it going down his pants. It's long pants going into his turfs. And he's just going into his turfs. He takes his turfs out and dumps out the pee outside on the warning track, on the dugout. And he just puts them back on, and he finishes the inning. He waits till the inning is over with to leave. And so he's watching the whole inning with piss in his pants. And everybody is dying laughing. Manager's laughing. Everybody's laughing. He gets up out of it and walks to the dugout, pee all in his pants, in the gray pants. It was awesome.
I remember telling them, "Hey, listen, my job here is to make sure that we bring, big time football to a small town environment, right?" And so you see on movies sometimes about the way a town reacts to the football program and what it means to everybody, and that was the hopes and dreams that I had for the place. And so our kids take a distinct responsibility in wearing that Z on their helmet. It means a lot to them. And then on the flip side of that, our community does a tremendous job of supporting our program, supporting the athletic department, supporting our school as a whole. And there's really a great relationship there that's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Thank you for the access, man. Looking forward to tonight. We'll talk soon.
Coach, wait, before you go, fix your hair again one more time.
Oh, look at him.
Let's go.
Yes.
Here.
Look at him.
What do you think about that?
Game day,
what do you
baby.
think about that?
Game day. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, man. Great to see you. Thank you.
You too, guys. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
All right, man. There he is. There he is. My guy. David Brewerton checking in. What does Harold Perkins do for this defense? What does he allow you guys to do?
Yeah, Perk, man, he's just so raw, man. All he know how to do is make a play. But I love him. He brings a certain type of juice to the defense, and he's right alongside of me on the edge. He knows how to rush the edge. As a young guy, that's very valuable to the defense, being able to rush the edge. Making the quarterback step up. But yeah, they put him everywhere. Middle linebacker, outside rusher. Maybe sometimes he's going to be in a drop. So he's very versatile for our defense.
Question in that game. You're listening to the Jordy Culotta Show live on YouTube. Catch it every day, 7 to 9 a.m., wherever you have internet access.
Oh, my guy, the host of Mac and Cube.
You said you wanted me to close it out.
I listen to his pod every day on WJOX 94. I thought I was going to beat Charlie. I didn't. You were fantastic as always. Have a great call in Missouri. I'll see you soon, man.
Thanks, man. Good
Later.
talking to you, Jordan.
Always. There he is. Cole Kubelik, the absolute best. Don't overthink it, ABC. When you move to a primetime slot in the SEC, is getting that billing, make this man the color commentator. He's the absolute best.
Ooh, I mean, what a pro.
What a pro. All right, Brody Miller from The Athletic joining us here, top of the hour, second hour, brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Sorry for making you wait, buddy. Brody Miller every Wednesday with us. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys today?
Doing good, man. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Early Merry Christmas. Jack Besh We were talking about
So polite.
We were talking about Jack
Sorry
Besh.
for making you wait.
That's
Happy
right.
Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas.
Bunch of pricks
Labor
around
Day,
here.
man. I don't
Happy
know when
birthday.
that's
Thank you,
coming,
Brody.
but yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Brody. Thank you. Thank you. Your hair looks like shit.
Yeah, there you go.
It does. We were talking a little bit about Jack Besh. How do you evaluate Besh's sophomore season here? Came in with a ton of expectation, dealt with some injury, hadn't played as much as he'd like, but looks like they're trying to work him back in. Where do you see him here on his progression?
Yeah, it's obviously not been the year he would hope for, but I don't also overreact to it just because in a lot of ways, first off, you start with he's had multiple injuries throughout the year. I believe he was dealing with a concussion at some point. It's been a weird year for him from the jump, right? And then this passing game has not exactly been the best for a lot of receivers really, showing their tape, breaking out. I mean, the first few weeks at least, especially. And I think it was just kind of a situation where, okay, he's probably fourth right now in the pecking order, maybe fifth. And I just think it was a crowded room. He's beat up. The passing game with Jaden Daniels hasn't been exactly conducive to everybody popping off and all that. And yeah, I think it hasn't been the year you'd want. But I think I heard you at the tail end of that kind of saying you're not worried about Jack Besh. And I'd probably say I'm in the same boat. I mean, one, get him healthy. But two, next year, hypothetically, that receiving room, the pecking order is a little clear. The staff trusts him. He's like the guy the staff trusts and loves as much as anybody. And I think that but come next year, I mean, he'll probably be that clear possession guy. A Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Jack Besh trio, assume, outside of transfers or whatever, that's a really good, well-rounded receiving corps. So, yeah, not the year you'd want, not the year I know he would want, but I don't think I'm hitting a panic button or anything. I think I start with getting healthy, and two, I think that passing game will probably be more cohesive next year, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Talking about last Saturday night in College Station, what was your takeaway from LSU?
Yeah, it's tough to put your finger on because it's not like you look at that game and saw it was exposing something that you were already worried about. Now, I think it exposed that LSU was probably limited from the jump. They weren't some great team, and this kind of showed, guys, they're good, they're not great. But there's not the ways they got beat were areas that you were concerned about. It was a weird, out-of-character domination, and that's what's so strange about it. That's what Brian Kelly, I think, was kind of struggling with after the game, where he kept saying, I can't put my finger on it, because they got just destroyed in the run game. I don't think of that as a major issue for LSU. They got, just demolished on one-on-ones and, some of those deep balls. Well, that's more just credit to A&M making great plays. I don't think the corners played poorly. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that I don't know if you are oh, see, this tells you about this team. It really felt like, and I think Kelly's talked about, there wasn't the fire you'd want. There wasn't the focus you'd want. And I'm not going to get into look ahead or whatever. I don't know what really happened there. Maybe Thanksgiving week. Who knows? But it just seemed like that team wasn't locked in a way because these were out of character problems. And that works multiple ways. That works in terms of you could tell yourself, see, these aren't the major issues, and they should, in theory, be able to bounce back and be back to who they were the previous 4 or 5 weeks against Georgia. Totally possible. Or it could say this might be a team that is getting kind of fried after a very emotional, kind of had to be locked in every week season. I think there's both possibilities to both.
Let's look ahead this week. How do you like the chances of LSU? How do you measure up this game going into it with, Georgia kind of being wire to wire number one all season long?
I don't love LSU's chances. I think the spread's at 17 by now, and I think some projections that I trust a lot have it more toward 20. I think what's tough about it for LSU is the things LSU wants to do, Georgia's probably just better at. Mm-hmm. And that's usually, the worst recipe. I look at the offense, and I think this offense has made huge strides. I like LSU's offense. I think it's very underrated. I also think Georgia is made to just make that brutal. LSU is a very good running game. Georgia's run defense is even better than almost every metric. Jaden Daniels is one of the best scramblers and really just become just a good quarterback. Well, Georgia has the kind of bodies that are almost made to spy him and take away that ability to run sideline to sideline. That's a perfect matchup. The other side, it's not the other side, but LSU's offense took its big turn and made a leap once they kind of figured out, hey, trust the receivers. Let those receivers win a one-on-one because they're going to win a one-on-one against almost every cornerback. They're that good. Well, I'm not saying they're going to lose them, but Georgia's corners are the kind of guys you probably don't want to just trust a one-on-one against. That gets neutralized. So I think I worry about that. On the other side, yeah, you have a chance. You have a chance to make this an ugly, low-scoring game if you play your best team. Georgia's offense is better than people realize. It is like a top 5 or 10 offense. It's very efficient. It's just not like sexy and exciting. But yeah, like LSU's D-line when they're playing their best, not like they played against A&M, can stop a really good run game. They can they can hold their own on the line of scrimmage. I'm a big Stetson Bennett defender, but at the same time, there are ways that you could, like, it's not a passing game where you're like, oh man, Hendon Hooker, what are you going to do? You can win a lot of those battles on the outside. You have to figure out a game plan for the tight ends, Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and whatnot. But, I think Kelly talked about probably playing a good amount of zone there. Also, like, just to get devil's advocate, LSU does kind of have bodies that match up, that could compete, I guess is a better way to put it. Like, how many guys do they have that are basically corner safety hybrids? Your Jay Wards, Greg Brooks, Jarek Bernard Converse, all these guys that can play both, and which basically tells you they're good enough in coverage, but also physical enough to play safety and stop the run and all that. Maybe they can kind of get physical with these tight ends. Or shoot, Harold Perkins isn't really there in pass coverage yet, but he was kind of like put in a lab to probably hold his own, in man coverage against one of these tight ends. So there's ways the defense can make this ugly and make it competitive. It's the other side that, especially with Daniels banged up, you have to worry. But, it's LSU. You're good enough to win any game on the right night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Daniels and what you've learned of his status, his health, and what could be a contingency plan here if he does go down. Is it just straight to Garrett Nussmeier?
I would assume, but I mean, that's a good question. Yeah. Obviously, his ankle, it's limited. I'm sure they'll find a way to have him go, but I just also don't know if he's going to be. I mean, his superpower is that quickness, let alone against this Georgia team where. I'm not going to say rely on it, but you may have to rely on that speed. So there's a lot. One, even if he goes down, to your point, or something happens, that hurts you. But two, like, if he's just not himself, that limits this offense huge. I would assume Garrett Nussmeier would be next up. One, just he's the next scholarship quarterback up. But two, this game was always a little bit about having a punch, right? Like, Georgia is better. You need a punch, like a way to kind of, level the playing field a little. And Garrett Nussmeier, if he's good, Garrett Nussmeier has that gunslinger thing and is an incredible passer that he could maybe make some plays and do some big things and really open up this passing offense against Georgia. So I would assume he's next up, but I do have to probably ask around a bit on that more.
Brody Miller from The Athletic. Hit him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. LSU taking on Georgia this Saturday in the SEC title game. Brody, do you get an idea of how the coaching staff will manage the schedule over the next couple of days and weeks with game on the horizon, recruiting signing day in a couple of Wednesdays, and look, their opponents having kind of this week to visit recruits where LSU is in game prep, and then, like Lloyd said, transfer portal stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I know Kelly gave a quick answer saying that, they kind of use the bye week to kind of get ahead on some stuff with the portal and whatnot. Because, and I know I think the beauty of the kind of the time you're in now is they have such a large personnel staff. They have such a behind the scenes staff that those guys are already laying the foundation, getting things ready, already talking to guys all the time, that it's not as if LSU's focusing on this game, and that is focusing on this game, and it's just not caught up on recruiting and things like that. But yeah, there is going to be a slight, 5-10% catch up going on. But, I think in regard to, say, the portal, I believe they already have some semblance of a plan and already kind of know which guys they're going for. And I'm not accusing of tampering, but maybe, there's some feelings of some guys you have a good chance with already by asking the people around them, stuff like that. And, in terms of the other recruiting, they're on top of that. I don't think they're in trouble with grand recruiting and all that, but it will be a catch-up. I know that the second this game's over, I believe they're going into full recruiting mode, and the next 2 to 3 weeks will be kind of chaos for the staff. But it's a disadvantage recruiting being in this game, but at the same time, it's an advantage because you are on national TV playing for the SEC title.
What do you make of Hugh Freeze coming back to the league?
I'm always team what makes the SEC fun, so that's always my quick answer. It's just let's get more personalities, let's get more polarizing people that everyone wants to argue over. But yeah, it's tough because I thought Lane Kiffin, for example, the big thing with Auburn, right, is the boosters, the alignment, can you get everyone on the same page? And I think that though, even if you have your own questions about Lane Kiffin, which I do sometimes, I felt pretty confident that booster base would be so gung-ho about Lane Kiffin, they would be just all in on it, and he would probably thrive there. And I think Hugh Freeze is a very good coach. I think it's like, because he has this kind of all shucks, like, and just kind of careless, reckless dumbness sometimes, that like people think he's not a good coach or that he's kind of an airhead, but I think he's smarter than that. He's just careless. And you look at his track record, he has genuinely won everywhere. What he's done at Liberty is almost even more impressive than what he did at Ole Miss in some ways. And I think in theory he'll do really well there because, one, the resources are coming. That's been clear. The NIL commitment is there. We've all heard about that. But I think you have to worry about the booster thing, like we just said, is so big. And the fact that it's already divided over this hire, and there are a lot of people genuinely against it, that makes you worry. But still, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I mean, Hugh Freeze is a guy that can get Auburn back to what it wants to be. I mean, that's just the reality. And yeah, that does kind of sting for, other programs, because for 2 or 3 years now, Auburn's been, it's not Auburn. And that should be a win on your schedule. And I think now the West just gets a little bit harder every day.
Brody, have you ever heard of a booster club or a team taking away a coach's phone before they even hired him?
Wait, I don't know why in the back of my mind I'm kind of thinking, like, wasn't there a coach that got something taken away? I'm blanking on this.
Dennis
but no.
Francione? No, Mike Price.
Mike Price got his job taken away.
Right. The company credit card taken away.
Jeez, that's incredible. Yeah, I can't, man. That's just, man. And yeah, that's the worst part of all this. Everyone talks about, like, hey, man, it's one thing to the escorts. It's one thing to, the cheating or like all that. It's the DMing of a sexual assault survivor repeatedly that definitely is not a good look.
Go to work.
Right.
That's where it's like, yeah, you should get mad about that.
Go check the toilet. There's definitely a Walter White burner in the back of it.
Here's your polo. Give me your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no chance that Hugh Freeze has his phone, like his social media taken away, and it's just like, oh no, guess I can't do anything on social media. No, man, that guy's got a few accounts going. He'll come back. Don't worry.
It's like a kid. You have to, when you catch him smoking cigarettes, you make him smoke a whole carton. See if you still like this.
Chain smoke him.
Did that happen to you?
No. Yeah,
it just wasn't. It wasn't cigarettes.
It didn't take,
Brody.
It disappointed him more.
Yeah, it was LSD. Just never come off of it.
Damn, he's still high.
Brody, what did you make of the top 4 last night, and how do you think this weekend affects the top 4 coming up?
Yeah, because it's like, if you just view it from like a pure just probabilities, right? One of LSU, one of USC or TCU could lose. That's just, I think both have probably like 55 to 60% chances. So one of them will probably lose. And that's where it gets really juicy, because I know Ross Dellinger and a lot of others have been kind of team like TCU's in no matter what, that they think that even if they lose, they're in. And I hope that's true, because I think they've earned it. I think they've done it. But there's a lot of fear in me that's like, hey, because I'm not that high on Ohio State. I think, the 3 times they've played teams that have talent that match up to them, they have flat out struggled. And I know, like, maybe it's you win the games and you don't, we should be nice to them, but the committee loves Ohio State. They always have. They love their, like, per play metrics and all that. So it's like, I have a feeling that Ohio State's going to – if anyone loses, I think Ohio State's in. And I have a real fear that if both those teams lose, USC and TCU, which is totally possible, I do have a genuine fear that both Ohio State and Alabama will get in, which, like, I don't care, but I don't think either team is good enough, let alone do I think they deserve it, which are 2 separate things, but I think both are true in this case. So, yeah, I do think one of those 2, USC or TCU, will lose, and I think Ohio State's next up. I'm not convinced TCU's in no matter what, just because this whole last 6 weeks of the rankings, they've basically been proving they are not that high on TCU. When they were under like 8-0, they were still like, you're 6th or 7th. So, yeah, I hope I'm wrong, though, because I think they've earned it.
Brody, give me an synopsis of LSU year 1 under Brian Kelly, now that you have this amount of body of work and they're going to Atlanta this week for the league title. Where is the state of the program now here, year 1 in Kelly right now?
Yeah, I think you have to be thrilled with it in so many ways, just because the things that in our head would probably be like, okay, that's going to take 2 or 3 years. The the boring accountability process, all that stuff that we're sick of talking about. That stuff probably takes time, and I think you have to be excited because that stuff is proving itself already. And I know that's like the stuff that's not visible and hard for fans to be like, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't want to get excited about that. But I give the example of them losing Saturday, and I mean that in a good way. This was never a great team. This was a pretty good team. And the fact that they were 9-2 and won the West was the more impressive part. It's not that they're this great team. It's the fact that they're an okay team and they're finding ways to win. They won the West. They're beating teams that are better than them. They're getting better each week. That's the most fun part, and that's why you should be excited about the future of this team. So the fact that they can lose Saturday is not like this wasn't good or that this was a mess. It's proof of how impressive the other 11 was. And that's the way I view it. Because guess what? LSU could have lost to Arkansas and they could have lost to Auburn, and this one they finally lost. And it's a reversion to the mean. That happens. They went 9-3, and I know everyone's been saying this all week, but like you would have taken that. And so I think I look back on the season, and I hope people look back on even more in a few years and say, like, this was an overachievement. But even more than overachievement, it was an establishment of the things that you hope they're building on come year 3 when they're competing for playoffs and stuff. That, hey, this team's tough. This team gets better in fourth quarters. This team adjusts really well, and their leaders are strong, and they have an accountability, and their best players are back on the field in a way that they weren't the last few years because so many guys had off the field issues and stuff like that. So I think you have to give it an A, maybe not an A+ because there were some shaky moments, sure, but you give it an A because, man, the future is really bright that it's proving they know what they're doing. And the recruiting class, even if it's like losing a few guys right now, it still should be a very good class that is probably better than we all thought it would be in January, even if they lose a few guys. So, yeah, man, I'm pretty high on Kelly and what he's done year 1.
Last one, I'll get you out of here. Do you expect to spend New Year's in Orlando? Do you have LSU? I know Jerry Palm has them in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah.
Is that where you kind of feel them going? Yeah, I know, dude.
I know. I'm never like sports writer, like send me to the bowl I want guy. But man, like going from like you're going to a New Year's Six, either you're in like Cotton Bowl or Sugar Bowl where you don't have to travel to going to Citrus Bowl. Man, that one stinks. Yes, as of now, I think Citrus Bowl is probably the most likely scenario. It's just hard. I don't think New Year's Six, unless like maybe there's a world where they play this incredible game and lose by 3, where the committee's like you're still really high on them and you give them the New Year's. It's just not really likely, especially with Bama and Tennessee just going to be ranked higher. So I think Citrus Bowl's next up, and that's probably where they're headed for the 3rd time in like 7 years or something.
Crazy, man. And then opener for next year, right back in it, back to Orlando.
Just stay, Brody. You can just stay in Orlando.
It's like LSU's new Atlanta.
It really is. God, I'm not like complaining, but I don't want to go to Orlando that often.
It sounds like you're complaining.
If the Athletic is listening, I'm not complaining.
Brody, good to see you, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks as always, guys. Take care. My hair looks great. Screw you.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, that's right. At Brody A. Miller on Twitter.
He blocked off. My hair looks great. Screw you.
Remember, Daily, we are brought to you by our friends. I've already told you about R&B Builders, but get in touch with them over at R&B Builders. You can find them on Instagram. Their Instagram's on fire, and you can follow them on social media to keep up with the latest of what they got going on. At our favorite, RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. Check them out. RMB Builders is on Instagram, and find him there. Jacques Doucet's in studio. We'll talk to WAFB's sports anchor next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Southern Eye Center is located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region.
What's going on with you?
Service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southerneyecenters.com. That is southerneyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out. southerneyecenters.com and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team. Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com. Back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, our favorite segment here on a Wednesday, talking to our friend Jacques Doucet of WAFB. Come stopping in studio with us to catch up, reminisce, and give us the latest on LSU as the Tigers are heading over to Atlanta. Jacques will be there along with Darren DeQuano. They'll be making the trip over to the league title game in Atlanta versus Georgia. So let's catch up with Jacques now. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Jordy. Katie, how we doing?
Hey,
Doing Lloyd?
Good. Excellent, sir.
Let's start a little bit with the reminiscing of this weekend. It's 21 years ago LSU played this game with Saban, 2001, Rohan, Josh Reed, and that crew getting a win that night over Tennessee, keeping them out of the national championship game. What do you remember about that team? What do you remember about that night?
Well, I got spoiled very quickly at Channel 9. That was my first year at WAFB, and right off the bat, I get to cover Rohan Davey and Josh Reed and Brady James and Trev Falk, who I used to have on my public access show when I was in college. He came on when he was at Lafayette High and would smack talk St. Thomas More and these other schools. But, yeah, I just remember, and so much wrapped up in one year. That was the year of 9/11, the tragedy. That's right. The Auburn game that was supposed to be played earlier in the year bumped back to the regular season finale. LSU smoking cigars on the field after the game. I remember going live to Steve Schneider on the field, and he was live with some fans who got excited. And as the live shot proceeded, they just whisked him away. Like he just vanished in the crowd of LSU fans. It was a great live shot, but. Yeah, I remember that was the first time LSU had ever made the SEC championship game. I remember in the late 90s, it was always watching the Auburn-Alabama game and LSU needing one of those two teams to win, and it never went LSU's way.
That's right.
And so, yeah, it was the first time ever they made the championship game. They were the huge underdog in the game. Certainly, Rohan gets hurt early, and you think, oh, God, this is going to be a disaster because LSU, that was the best passing team ever until Joe Burrow in 19. And Matt Monk comes in. They start running the option. Quarterback draws. Tennessee wasn't ready for it. They didn't prepare for it. The defense, LSU's defense, was amazing. and LSU won 31-20. Stephen Peterman, some other guys had roses in their mouths after the game because Tennessee was on their way to the national championship if they won.
Right.
Trev Falk running with the LSU flag on the field. That turf too. I remember that was back when the the AstroTurf
like carpet. That was like
yeah.
true carpet.
That bright green concrete field.
The Dome had it for a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, those guys who played back there, Earl Campbells of the world and stuff,
Oh, God, dude.
who are now just so beat up. I mean,
Cement. They were playing on cement.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great night. Big night for LSU football. Before we were all spoiled and jaded.
Do you feel any relation to that team? What is happening now to this team? Do you kind of find a connection there?
It was Saban's second year.
Correct.
This is Kelly's first. LSU had not become the LSU that we know of today. They had not won.
It kind of did that night, right?
That was
Would you say that that's a rival of the golden age of LSU football, how we know it?
Yeah, I mean, I think twice you can reference Tennessee. 2000, the game that won in Tiger Stadium. That was the first big win in the Nick Saban era, and this was the first championship win of the Saban era and the golden era of LSU football that started, from 2000 until today. So yeah, I think that was the first big championship moment. They made it to the Sugar Bowl. They beat Illinois like a drum in the Sugar Bowl that year, and so yeah, that was a shocker that night. Nick Saban and the team, big moment, and it led to another championship. I mean, they in 2003, they beat Georgia in the regular season, a close game, and a lot of people said that the better team didn't win that day.
Yeah.
And then LSU turned around and spanked them in the SEC championship. I interviewed Justin Vincent yesterday talking about it. We had a camera on Justin Vincent's mom in the stands, and I think her microphone. One of the great things we captured. I think it was the second possession of the game when he rips off the 87-yard, and she's just jumping up and down, going crazy. And what he didn't even get a carry in the first Georgia game.
Yeah, no.
He said, I made one tackle on special teams. He wasn't even part of the offense.
Was it a die that got hurt? It was a die that got hurt that year, right? In 2003?
Yeah, that sounds right. A die and Justin Vincent.
Sharon Carey.
Sharon Carey.
Was
the
on that
highlight
team?
of Sharon's career was against Georgia.
Was
he
it
put
Georgia?
his foot in the
Yeah.
ground and made that touchdown run.
First score of the game.
Yeah.
Dives in the end zone.
Yeah.
One of our favorite sound bites ever with Chiron was Dominic Davis had graduated, and he was going to be running back punts, and we said something like, okay, you guys step in for Dominic Davis as the punt returner. Well, Dominic Davis is Dominic Davis, but I'm Chiron Carey. We always thought it's not Chiron Carey because I'm Chiron Carey. But
he was kind of Tack Minor before Tack Minor. He was like this little 5 foot
nothing
ball of granite. You know what I mean? Like you would touch him and he felt like cement.
Yeah.
One of the best high school football players to come out here in a long. I mean, he was a Shaw. He was a stud at Shaw.
He's probably the same age as Sharif Ishak. I think they went to high school together around that time. Yeah.
Was Ali Broussard wasn't on that team, was he? I think Ali Broussard came in 04.
I remember it was they decided to play the freshman against South Carolina, and it was Justin Vincent.
Oh, it was Ali Broussard.
And Ali Broussard.
It was Ali Broussard.
They were the two freshmen that they played.
Yeah, because Ali Broussard had a big night against South Carolina.
So Justin had over 1,000 yards, I think, in half a season.
Yeah,
rushing the ball. Yeah. And first play of the game in the national championship against Oklahoma, he breaks it and gets tackled late, and LSU doesn't score on that too.
Yeah,
they fumbled at the goal line. Yeah, but. Yeah, amazing times. I was in Justin's office yesterday for that SEC championship against Georgia in 2003. The headline said, "Just in time." I thought that was a great headline.
It was. It was. He was, man, it was crazy how he kind of got pushed into that role that year in that national championship season, and really, I mean, was one of the great responses, one of the all-time freshman performances, I think, that will – it's kind of overlooked. You know, we talk about Harold Perkins, we talk about Tyrann Mathieu. We rarely talk about Justin Vincent's freshman season. I guess because he was a gray shirt when he came in.
I just remember him being like fifth on the depth chart.
Fifth on the depth chart.
And going into that. And Justin Vincent gave me a great soundbite yesterday. You mentioned Harold Perkins. He said Harold Perkins right now is where Devin White was when he left.
Yeah.
He is playing at that level now.
Yeah, that's true.
And I looked at LSU stats. now that 12 games have been played, and you can kind of look at the regular season stats now and reflect on them. He led the team in sacks as a true freshman this year. You know, Ali Gay had only 2.5 sacks. I think Ojulari had 5.5. But yeah, Errol Perkins led the team in quarterback sacks as a true freshman at the linebacker.
You were in College Station last week. What did you see? Where it looked like emotionally they weren't there. What was your takeaway from LSU's performance?
Well, look, you know, Texas A&M and their fan base have been panned all year. They have taken a lot of criticism. There were not a lot of fans at that UMass game, but look, the week before that, they played Florida an 11 a.m. game, and that place is packed. You know, I will say they've got great fans. The fans showed up. The team showed up. It was obvious right away that A&M could establish the run. LSU was getting pushed back on the run. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And the first half, I mean, they really chewed up the clock and kept getting to 3rd and 1, then converting it. And LSU, to their credit, made the halftime adjustments. They came out, forced us for 3 and out. LSU defenders are jumping up and down. They're excited. John Emery scores a touchdown to tie the game. LSU forces another 3 and out defense. And at that point, I'm like, LSU's about to take control of this game, and they're going to win by the spread of 10 or something like that. And, you know, not to put too much on one play, but the Jaden Daniels fumble, I believe, just had to be so demoralizing because you were working so hard to score. I mean, the LSU offense was moving, but A&M was making them work. There was no, like, explosive 30, 40-yard plays.
Right.
And when you hand them 7 points on a silver platter like that, that's tough to come back from. And then Moose Muhammad makes this one-handed catch right in front of us in the end zone. And at that point, I'm like, this is not LSU's night. This is Texas A&M's night. And if you're an LSU fan and you're upset about it, I am not going to argue with you one bit. At the same point, maybe take a deep breath and say, after the Florida State game, LSU, in my opinion, played 5 games that could have gone either way, that were toss-ups. Mississippi State, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Ole Miss, they were down 17-7, you know.
In Texas A&M.
In Texas.
And of all of those, they lost 1.
Yeah. Before A&M, they won all 5.
Right.
You know, and when we win, we say, we deserve that. And we don't even want to think about we could have lost. But really, did the football gods kind of even this thing out and everything lined up for an A&M team that has talent? I mean, I heard a few, Brian Kelly wasn't ready. The coaching staff wasn't ready.
Come on, man.
All week they were petrified of this, you know?
Right.
Like one of the great Paul Maneri quotes, it's my job to worry. Coaches are always worried, you know? And Brad Davis down the field before the game, you know, I was chatting with him, and I even brought up Georgia. He was like, oh, Georgia, man, I'm worried about these guys are good. He pointed at 18 for A&M because that guy's one of the best guys in the country. We got to work tonight. And,
wow.
it just A&M, some things don't make sense. They were 120-something in the country in scoring at 21 points a game. They put up 38. They were bad on run defense. LSU, they ran it here and there, but they didn't take over the game. So it was just disappointing. It was a clunker, and it was a badly timed clunker when a lot of things were in front of you. But then you take a step back and you say, is LSU really a playoff team?
Right. No, I mean, look at the way they tumbled. I think that's the respect they have for them. Like, they were kind of playing over their skis. Yeah. And then once they get beat, they're like, all right, look, this is about the 14th best team in the country.
They gave the benefit of the doubt in the Tennessee game. They had a bad. Okay, now they've had two bad days, Tennessee and A&M, and so everyone just doesn't want Alabama to make that playoff.
Oh my God!
It's just like, oh God.
So what do you think about this weekend?
It's a huge stage. It's a championship weekend. There's a lot of football fans who have not watched LSU because they were watching their own teams. They're going to be watching this game. There's a lot of discredit for LSU going around. I read an article this morning about how the SEC championship should be Georgia and Tennessee, and that these divisions are outdated and LSU shouldn't be in the game. And so I think the SEC won't admit it, but I'm sure they really wanted for it to say 10-2 LSU versus 12-0 Georgia, make it more marketable. And
I'm sure 4.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not happy that LSU lost that game to A&M. But, Justin said yesterday, be wedding crashers. That's the way he said it, I think, obviously if Georgia loses, they're in the same position LSU was in 19. Even if they lose the game, they're not going to drop out of the top.
The same place they were last year. They went to this game, lost, and still got in.
That's correct.
They're in the same exact position that they were last season.
You look at some things on paper, they're scary. Georgia's given up 12 touchdowns the entire season. Won a game. They've given up 8 touchdown passes and 4 rushing touchdowns. That I looked at it. So, they beat you up. So that's a deal. I mean, I walked by. We were leaving player interviews yesterday. The team was eating. I looked. I saw Jaden Daniels in a walking boot. He was in a boot. So, I mean, does the fact that he's not able to scramble force him to stay in the pocket and throw the ball down the field? I would vote Jaden Daniels the MVP of the LSU team. I don't think that they are where they are without him at quarterback. He accounted for 3,400 yards of offense in 12 games. He accounted for 11 rushing touchdowns, 15 passing touchdowns. At the same time, we can also say he needs to get the receivers more involved. If you would have told me before the year that Jack Besh, Malik Neighbors, and Kayshon Boutte would all have 1 receiving touchdown in the regular season, I would have said this team was not going to be 9-3 in the SEC championship game. So, they gotta push the ball down the field and see if they can make some plays. And John Emery, I think, is a huge X factor in this game. You heard Brian Kelly say it on Monday. I think if he'd have a Leonard Fournette back there or one of those guys, John Emery would not be playing. You fumbled the ball too much. But at the same time, it's like he brings some electric stuff that we've got to have on the field. We can't put him on the shelf. So, Georgia's in their meetings saying, hey, number 4, he fumbles. Rip that thing out.
Right. One-time Georgia commit.
That's right. Yeah, it's all come full circle in that regard. So he had a great game against A&M. He scored 3 touchdowns. So we'll see how he plays indoors on a fast track.
WAFB will be boots on the ground. You guys heading off tomorrow?
We're heading over there early in the morning tomorrow. I think we're going to be live starting at 5 on Thursday. So yeah, we'll have some coverage. They're not really, I don't want to gripe and be the local guy, but they're not really doing a whole lot for us. The SEC in terms of media availability, they're doing something on a Zoom Thursday, and they're not even doing a press conference with the 2 head coaches in the trophy. They used to always do that.
That's wild.
It's all getting piped to the SEC network and all that. They're getting all the little peons like us. We just please help us. Right. But that's just the way it is. So as Bruce Hornsby said, I had to explain to somebody who Bruce Hornsby was yesterday. I was talking about how Keith Hornsby played here, and we were talking about famous dads, and he goes, "Who's Bruce Hornsby?" Come on, man.
Bruce Hornsby told me when he was here, he makes $3 million a year off of the Tupac Changes song.
Really?
Still off of the royalties of it.
Nice, Bruce.
I mean, that's his beat underneath.
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure when Keith first got here, he probably got, this local guy's always talking to me about my dad. But I mean, I was 10 years old in 1986, when that song went number 1.
Yeah.
And I met him one time, and I said, man, I said, I get to meet Grammy Award-winning Bruce Hornsby, and he goes, 1-time winner, 4-time loser. Because apparently he was up for 4 others he didn't win.
Right. He was a great personality. He was always around.
I always waited. I'm like, I tell Kent Lowe, I'm like, Kent, when is Bruce Hornsby going to play a halftime show? When y'all going to roll out the piano?
Or at least,
well, he doesn't want to do it. It's his son, and wants the attention on his son. And so, I love you, Kent. Just kidding.
National anthem at least, Doc.
Yeah.
I mean, like something.
He's there in the stands,
Throw him a microphone.
Roll the piano out.
He was a good basketball player in his own right.
And his other son was a track star at Oregon.
They're twins.
Yeah, they're twins.
It freaked me out when I saw him. I'm like, whoa, So, but anyway,
what do you make of McMahon basketball?
I was driving back from College Station, and they barely beat Wofford, right? Mm-hmm. We joked last night. We were like, this shows the difference between the 2 new head coaches. If Will Wade would have gotten that shaft on that clock
oh my God,
at the end of the game the other night, he was like, he'd still be over there right now. McMahon was like, oh, well, I'm sure he wasn't happy about it, obviously, but just the difference in the personalities between those 2. But
very calm
demeanor. It looks like it's going to be I don't want to say it's going to be a struggle, but these games that they normally win by 20, 30 points, they're struggling to win. I mean, Kim Mulkey and company, they struggle. I mean,
she was hot last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was hot last night.
Yeah. She got asked by somebody, did you leave anything in the island?
I saw it. I saw that.
She goes, we left it on the floor yesterday in practice. It wasn't worth a crap.
I saw that. It's so good. It's so good. Somebody said, Coach, tell me what you learned about your team tonight. She goes, well, first let me tell you what I knew going in. I knew they were going to play like that. I think she was pissed last night. They lost a 20-point lead. They won the game.
Yeah, they were up by 21 in the third.
They were up by 21 in the third, and they cut it down to like 6 or something.
LaDasia Williams didn't play, and she wasn't interested in answering why. She got asked about it, and somebody goes, well, did she get hurt? And then she goes, I don't think so, unless one of y'all fell on her on the bench during the game. Did one of y'all fall on her? One of y'all sit on her? So, yeah, I get the answer there. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you, they went in every game, scored 100 points. These things have ebb and flows to them.
High school football right now is semifinal week.
Yeah.
I know you'll be out, but Sportsline Friday night as always.
Sportsline, I think this. Well, I don't want to speak out of turn. This might be our last show of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to obviously cover everything on high school football moving forward, but this might be the last show that we do. 10 p.m. on WAFB. Steve Schneider and company. Steve started this show 32 years ago. And like I say, we got a chance to cover the Saints and LSU and Southern, but over the years, the number one thing people come up to you and say is, man, we love that high school football show, and thanks for doing it. So.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, JD, have safe travels to Atlanta, man, as we'll be watching.
All right. Thanks a lot. Hopefully it's a good one, man. Big stage. Hopefully they can I think LSU's only won 11 SEC titles in their football history or something like that. I mean,
it's not a lot.
They won in 86, 88, and before that, there was a big gap during the Bear Bryant days and all that. So this is a big deal. It's not like I heard people call it meaningless, and it's like, come on, man. It's the best conference in America, and you got a chance to win it in Brian Kelly's first year, regardless of what happened in College Station. So.
I know, man. Anybody complaining right now needs to check themselves. I mean, if you'd have told us in Atlanta in July, in 9-3, going back here in December to play for the league title versus Georgia, I don't know if anybody in that room would have bought that.
And you're going to beat Alabama, by far the preseason number one, the overwhelming pick to win the national title. Or even after losing to Florida State, it's like, oh, God, they're going 5-6 games, we lucky to make a bowl. So,
Jacques, I do a trivia question every day, so this one's going to be directed to you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Here we go.
So LSU football has defeated the number one team in the country twice before.
Oh, he's going to kill this.
I know.
Twice?
Twice before. Who were the two teams?
Well,
and then do you know the years?
One was obviously Florida in 1997. That was the first time it ever happened.
Yep. That was 28-21.
Would it be?
Okay.
Is it just directed at him?
No, it can be directed to you too, but he's never here.
I would say Tennessee 2001 SEC title game, right?
I don't think so. I think there were two.
They were number two.
So was it? I'm thinking one of the national championships. Was it 2007 when they beat Ohio State?
Yes.
Ohio State was number one in the BCS.
38-24.
Wow, Jacques.
Yay!
Look at you, brother.
You're an encyclopedia.
Grab your gift on the way out.
Then my dad's gonna say, you don't change the oil in your truck, and you can't remember what happened.
Exactly.
All right, Dad.
So true.
Jeez. Jacques Doucet, make sure and follow him on Twitter and keep up with our partner over at WAFB. They'll be live in Atlanta tomorrow through the game, as the game will kick off Saturday 3 p.m. With LSU versus Georgia. We're back to close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
I was excited to come to a top level program. I've been at a lot of great places, been very fortunate in my career, but to really say that you have an opportunity every year, once we get it rolling, to win a national championship, there's not very many places that you can say that. So for him to offer me the opportunity to come with him to LSU was nothing but humility and gratitude. Some Sunday players in that room, But again, it's got to be the total package, the total process of buy-in, of understanding what we're trying to get done, of figuring out how we want it to get done, but also allowing those guys to be able to play with instincts. For example, I think Jay Ward is long and athletic. He's very versatile. He's played corner, played nickel, played safety. Very excited about Joe Fouché, one of the transfer guys that we came in because he has a dimension of physicality. Major Burns, fortunate enough that he was able to come back home. Again, he's long, he's athletic, so he gives you flexibility between both field and boundary safeties. And then you've got some guys that you can throw in like Brooks, Sage, Derek Davis. Todd Harris is a guy that's been around for a while. So I think that we have enough in that room to be successful. But again, you still want to continue to grow and be able to push it.
Yeah, well, I think it starts here, and we have a good bit of people on this particular staff who are from Louisiana, who know and believe in our hearts that this place produces the best football players in the country, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Per capita, produce the most NFL players, you know what I mean? So even from an analytical standpoint, it makes sense to take the kids from here because the chances of them playing in the league are higher than if they come from anywhere else. I think our brand is super powerful, so we will have to recruit at a national level, or there's really no reason that we shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because if we can get a top player from another state who can help us win a championship, then of course, right? But I think it starts right here in Louisiana and then right here in Baton Rouge. There's some really good players who are still available that are right here in Baton.
Hi, this is Dan Canterbury. Join myself and the legend, Coach Skip Burtman, for Hold the Rope Tuesday nights on YouTube. You can go to @HoldTheRope, Skip and Cano. Skip, tell them what we do.
We've got a lot of education. We've got some people that can tell you a lot about a lot of things. In the area of sports, we have a lot of entertainment. We got a lot of energy putting this in. I think you'll like it.
So join us for Hold the Rope.
Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz. I was embarrassed about my smile. Are you unhappy at yours? Do you not smile back at yourself? I called my friend, Dr. Spillers, over at Johnson Spillers. He fixed my smile, and now everywhere I go, people are complimenting it after the work that Dr. Spillers and the staff did to my mouth. They can do it to yours. Get in touch with them. JohnsonSpillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easy to find them, JohnsonSpillers.com. We love the crew over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Chef Shane and his crew dropping off the meals every Monday here to FM Digital Media, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Me or the crew's going through our meals over at Fresh Chef Kitchen. Their weekly pre-order, freshly made meals, or you can walk into the cooler over there on Airline Highway. They have that fresh, same service over there at Fresh Chef Eats. FreshChefEats.com is where you can find them online. Fresh Chef Kitchen. Tell them you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Who's better right now?
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet. Shout out to Jacques. Shout out to Brody for stopping by on this Wednesday. Make sure to follow both of those guys. They'll be in Atlanta for LSU, Georgia. As you heard Jacques said, him and Darren are going to take off tomorrow.
Driving.
Oof,
That's
Darren.
the worst. I can't even believe they would drive.
Which I don't think we would drive if LSU hadn't lost A&M. If you're like, you can drive to Georgia for the game, I'd be like,
Wait,
ugh.
what?
If LSU had won and they were playing for a national seed,
Yeah.
but
Then
you have
it's
to
okay to
drive.
drive?
No, then I still think we'd be like, oh, I don't really want to drive.
No.
Like, I don't care what the game is. I'm not driving, 9 hours?
Yes.
Just, and the flight is how many? One.
Maybe.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
it's like they don't even get to 30,000 feet.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like,
You can't even get like a soda.
Yeah, to call your grandmother for some.
Back in my day.
Jesus. You smoke a cigarette on there?
I don't know where that came from.
Soda.
What's your choice of pop?
You can't even get a soda pop. Not enough time.
What do you mean? I got a quarter.
Miss Katie.
The prices.
Calling from the payphone. Riding the horse and buggy.
I was about to say. I can't take the car to the shop. Stick shift doesn't work.
Hit that like button, share button, comment
Damn
button.
Buick.
We will be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Stick around this afternoon. Mic'd Up coming your way.
Mikey's birthday.
Mikey's birthday. Big show. Peter Burns joining us at
Okay,
6:30
Petey.
PB. I don't know if I guess he'll probably be live from Georgia at this point. He's
Yes.
probably already there. And, yeah, like you said, Mikey's birthday. And then previous to that, stick around on the channel, 10 to 11, Shea Power Hour.
Nice. That's right.
So
big
we'll get
recruiting
some
news.
recruiting news.
Yeah, big recruiting news
and
coming
he
up.
will update you on the portal. Quit asking. God.
Not going to answer it. Quit asking.
Quit asking, all right?
You idiots.
See the
All right,
other
have a great
guy.
rest of the day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.
Alabama's in the playoff. Don't y'all forget it. Heard it here first.